Here we are, mid-May 2021, embracing the suck. As a general recap, I decided to start over. I had these really weird tracks that went up and down my lawn since the day that I moved in. Now, I have concluded that the homeowner that did the lawn renovation about 3 years ago ended up using two different types of sod, and one of the cultivars extremely prone to fungus, and the color was slightly lighter than the other species that they put in here. And that's something that you just can't fix. I did, however, mask it really well by pumping in the iron, getting the fertilizer all balanced out, which was awesome. However, reason number two, calling it quits, a lot of my neighboring properties have a disease called necrotic ring spot that is not curable. And yes, non-curable. You can mask it. I've been masking necrotic ring spot with our company All Green Pest Control and Lawn Care out of Utah for the last 13 years, and it's doable and manageable, but this just threw me over the top to try something new. So today we're gonna discover if you can seed when it's hot outside. That was the other problem that I'm having, is we went from having 30-degree temps, bouncing up to 50, back down to 30s at night, then we get these random spikes of 80 degrees. So if you guys have been following my lawn journey, you've seen that even the glyphosate had a really rough go the first application I did, because the ground temps plummeted down to nearly 40 degrees. And then about a week and a half later, we were back up into the 50s, and then it really started taking. Now, the first step is to choose the correct grass type. Now, I want a monostand, right? Now, I've been really enjoying mowing lower. I like the look, I like the consistency, I like the feel on my feet. However, Kentucky Bluegrass, this time of the year when it's hot outside, it's gonna be a nightmare to baby along. It takes almost 3 months to get it to set in and to get full into your lawn. So I'm gonna choose something much easier. It probably won't be a shock to any of you guys at home that I chose to go with the brand Barenbrug, and I chose their RPR. Now, they have a patented rhizomatous perennial rye. Now, what that means is it moves laterally to repair itself through rhizomes. Now, this is a patent that they hold. Now, a lot of other brands have said that they have lateral movement with their rye or their turf type tall fescue, when it's actually not true. However, we've tested this theory out with perennial rye. It doesn't move laterally as fast as Kentucky Bluegrass, but it still does push and repair itself. I'm doing it with a lot of heat coming through. Today is 82 degrees, and it's just gonna get hotter and hotter. So I'm interested to see how well this is going to push.
Oh, look at all the yellow goodness.
Full disclosure, Barenbrug gave me the product. They did not pay me, but if you guys buy it, I end up making a commission off of those sales. However, I've been using these grass types for the last 13 years. Primarily they're Kentucky Bluegrass. I've always been super happy with it. So please don't let that cloud your judgment. I wouldn't just put any sort of grass in my lawn. Now, one optional step that I'm going to highly recommend is using a selective pre-emergent like Tenacity. Now, Tenacity is really cool. Now, for those of you who don't know what Tenacity is or what it does, is it disrupts seed germination. Now, my ground temperatures are hovering between 55 degrees and 65 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a perfect breeding ground for a horrible annual grass called POA, crabgrass, and foxtail. Now, it's also selective, meaning it's going to leave my RPR or perennial rye alone while it germinates, but it's going to disrupt many other random types of weeds that are coming up, like nutsedge, dandelions, clover, oxalis, which is exactly what I want to do, because I don't want to end up with a horrible vegan salad by the time that I'm done here. Now, ideally, you want to do 2 treatments 2 weeks apart. Now, my first treatment was about 3 weeks ago, so I'm going to go at the higher rate today. When you're using these products, you need to make sure that you calibrate properly too. So I'll put a card up here in the corner if you need to visit how to properly calibrate a backpack sprayer so you can put this out properly. Now, the best part about Tenacity is at the very end of it, I'm gonna end up with a nice sheet of carpet of ryegrass. If I end up with some weeds here and there, I can use Tenacity after 3 weeks post-germination, which takes about a week, so about 4 to 6 weeks out in the process, I can use that and spot spray throughout my lawn. I gotta say, these FlowZones, man, they are a game changer. I had this calibrated to the droplet to end where I needed it to end, and it gets so exciting because I know that the grass seed's gonna come in really, really well, and it's gonna do exactly what it's supposed to. The problem with Tenacity, right, is if you over apply it, Tenacity's kind of like a sunblock for plants. So if you over apply it, it's going to apply that same sunblock to our grass when over applied, and then I'm gonna get spotty results. But since I'm all calibrated, I really don't have to stress, and my pace was just on point today. Now that I picked my grass type out, we'll move on to step number 2, and that is laying out the seed. Now, you've seen videos in the past where I add a compost spreader with peat moss and I mix it all together. Now, in this sort of situation where everything is barren, I'm gonna take a little bit more care on this instead of just slopping it out. If I was just repairing bare spots in the middle, I'd have no problems mixing that together and throwing it down, but I wanna make sure that we get really good seed to soil contact. So I'm simply just going to lay it out either by hand or with a drop spreader along the perimeter edges. I don't want to have a lot of new grass growing in my flower beds. That would defeat the purpose, but I technically could kill it out. I'm going to drop this seed at 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet. That means with this 1,500 square foot area that I have, we are going to be looking at about 15 pounds of seed or more just to sweeten the pot. Mama, would you look at this? This is what success looks like when you embrace the suck. Well, I'm really, really stoked. That yellow jacket's no joke, man. It's stinging my soil. So the nicest part about the yellow jacket is you can really see the seed spacing. Now, a couple of things I want to point out, like this, ideal. You can see it's just like Mother Nature sneezing. You don't have to like be a perfectionist about this. Just throw it down. But this, you'll notice along the edges, I'm getting a little sloppy. So I gotta go back over and touch those up. Not a big deal. Now, a lot of you guys are wondering, okay, Ginger, why didn't you start step number 2 with a starter fertilizer? Well, if you go back 3 weeks ago, I slammed this with my starter fertilizer at a high rate because I wanted it to be readily available. Now, my area is traditionally higher in phosphorus. A traditional starter fertilizer is going to be somewhere between a 10-10-10, 11-11-11, or a 12-12-12, which is a great choice. What I'm going to do next is put peat moss over the top. Now, I've done a ton of overseed projects, and I've found that the easiest way to get this done is some good old peat moss that you can pick up at Home Depot or Lowe's. Now, I'm not using anything special. This is just sphagnum peat moss. Now, I am using a compost spreader. Now, my favorite one thus far has been the Landzie compost spreader. The best part about this process is it's very easy. All I'm doing is lightly crushing up the sphagnum peat moss and throwing it into the Landzie peat moss spreader. I close the chute, I walk with a moderate pace, and I spread it on top of the soil. It's that easy. Now, I commonly shoot for 1 bale of peat moss per 1,000 square feet. Now, the tricky part about peat, you put it down too thick, it's gonna kill your seed germination. Too thin, you're not gonna get the benefits out of it. So pass number 1 ended up exactly where I thought it would be. Now, you can see these lines in here. That's a design flaw in the Landzie spreader. You can see these cross hatches. Not a big deal. What I'm gonna end up doing is you can see how much peat that I used. And this was 1 bale, about almost spot on, about 1,000 square feet from where I said it was gonna be. So we're gonna go to bale number 2, and we're gonna do the rest of this. And then with the additional peat moss, we'll probably make a pass like and a half. Basically this way, try to get rid of some of these lines here. So here's the best part about a compost spreader, right? Whether it be Landzie or somebody else, you get the right one with the right diameter holes. Check this out. Look at all of this. This would have caused a lot of problems. This is chunky material that's not breaking down. It's just spongy. It's not gonna do anything. It's gonna get really acidic. Look at this, stick after stick after stick. I don't want that in my lawn. No way. Landzie saves the day. Now, 2021 embracing the suck. The wind picked up and completely moved a ton of the peat moss. Sometimes that happens, you can't help it. And I was so close to having everything calibrated just the way I wanted, but I'm off. You're gonna end up needing about 1.25 bales per 1,000 square feet. You can see these areas in specific are bald. This was the only area I didn't get to. Everything else was good until the wind picked up and it kind of pushed it. Not overly concerned. So the workaround I have is I purposely saved some additional topsoil. So we're gonna load the topsoil up and we're just gonna use that to finish it out. I'm gonna go back to Home Depot, get another 2 bales just in case, because I don't know how bad this really pushed over. Now, I tried to put my topsoil in there, but it was too fine. I got loam. It just doesn't work great in a compost spreader, so I don't recommend it. It came out way too thick. So ended up plan being, spread it out a little bit with the shovel and my rake, just to get it level and even, but all in all, not a bad thing. Now, next step is watering. Now, believe it or not, you don't have to turn this into a swamp. That is the one thing you don't have to do. The problem with the swamp idea that everybody doesn't really think about is the fact that you can overwater seed. You end up with a fungus that spreads through like Pythian blight. You end up back to square zero. You have to start all over again with the seeding process. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna fight evaporation. Now you should do a water cup output test. I'll put a link in the description of the video for that so you guys can check that out. But know your output. In the month of May, we average somewhere around 70 to 80 degrees daily. So I know that per week, just to fight evaporation, I need 1 inch of water. Now my hunter heads that I have are low flow heads. They only pop out 0.1 of an inch every 20 minutes or 0.3 of an inch or 1/3 of an inch per hour. That means that I have to water, wait for it to get to 1 inch, about 3 hours and 20 minutes per week. So I'm gonna set this up daily just to keep up with evaporation. So about every 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, I'm going to water for about 5 minutes. Not much at all. So that's what I'm gonna start off doing.
I can't stress enough how important it is to know what your water output is. Now the weather here has been absolutely nuts. We went anywhere between 80 degrees and 107 degrees, breaking records over the last 3 weeks. Now my goal is to fight evaporation. I know to get 1 inch of water on the lawn to fight evaporation, I need 3 hours and 20 minutes of water. But I also need to make sure that the seed stays wet during the hottest point of the day. So you notice I started doing 2-hour increments of water between 11 and 9 o'clock. Now those times of the day are when I get full sun just beating down on the lawn. Now a couple of reasons why you want to do low increments of water. Number one, you don't want the seed to wash out. That's gonna be the worst thing for you because then you're gonna have to start all over. And believe it or not, waterlogging the seed will delay the germination.
Well, here we are 7 days later, and I have a little bit of a confession to make. Now, I ended up getting in this little Mercedes lady to go get more peat moss and more topsoil, and then I started thinking about it. You know, there's a lot of you guys out there in the same position I was in, where you do the best job you can, you lay it out, and then the universe kicks you right in the nuts. The wind picks up, blows all your work aside. So you know what, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it exactly the same way. This way, we can see exactly how well this grass seed ends up pushing. And I'll tell you what, here we are 7 days, let's take a look. Now at first glance, you can see the yellow jacket just spread all the way through here, right? Now the biggest things that I was concerned about is washout, mostly around the heads of the sprinklers, but check this out. This is awesome. So as much as you would think that this seed is not germinating, let's get right in here. Right there. You can see my little pretties everywhere. This is only 7 days. I'm kind of shocked. To be honest with you, I did not expect to be getting these kind of results this quickly. This, my friends, is day 11 since I put the seed down, and it is looking fantastic. Day 16 of my seeding project, and I am more than happy. It's been 90 degrees the last couple of days, and it looks like we're getting a heat wave coming through. Still holding steady. Now, I'm gonna be upfront and honest with you. If I was seeding anything other than this Barenbrug RPR ryegrass, I wouldn't have done it. It was way too late in the game, but this stuff is the easiest stuff to plant on the planet. I mean, look at this. 45 days later, I practically have a brand new yard. It's unbelievable. Now, my entire project was full of catastrophes. I ended up having to do one additional glyphosate app, which put me a complete week behind. Then after that, once I started putting the seed down, Mother Nature blew all my peat moss off. Then I ran out of peat moss, so I ended up putting way too much loam down in that section by the tree, and everything still turned out permissible. Now, do I have some problem spots? Absolutely. I mean, this area right here, a little bit thinner than I'd like to see it. That sprinkler head kept putting out more water and washing things away. Then this spot actually got way less sun than everything else because of the tree, and still I have a full yard. Now, the interesting aspect is this RPR creeps and crawls, and so it's going to be shooting new blades. These areas are going to thicken up. But I think one of the most amazing aspects to this project alone was the tenacity, that selective pre-emergent. Now, keep in mind, we've talked about this before, tenacity only lasts about 2-3 weeks in the soil as a pre-emergent, but the results speak for themselves. I don't have any problems with weeds or crabgrass. Now, with that said, because I'm post 3 weeks of the germination stage, I anticipate I'm going to see some crabgrass. I anticipate I'm going to see some native weeds popping up in my lawn, but it is a million times better than any other project I've done, especially if you consider Dennis's lawn for his birthday, and he was just riddled with weeds everywhere. We get a ton of weeds in our area. Really, really happy with the way the tenacity worked out. It was worth the extra time. It was worth the extra effort, and look at it. One thing I learned about this RPR is it's gonna grow anywhere. I've got spots along the perimeter of my yard here that literally have less than 1/8 of an inch of dirt, still germinated, still kicking it, still doing well. I mean, this is probably the easiest grass that I've ever dealt with in my entire life from start to finish. So if you're looking for easy, if you're looking for green, ryegrass is an easy grass to grow for beginners and experts alike. I'll tell you what, this almost feels like you're cheating when you're using Barenbrug RPR. It's kind of one of those things where I wouldn't have tried this in a million years if it was bluegrass. Bluegrass takes 90 to 120 days to really establish and to get to pop, where I did this in less than 4 weeks. I mean, this is insane. I mean, once you start counting the glyphosate apps and everything, 45 days to a brand new lawn. Insane. But if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, hit me up in the comments below. You know I'd love to help you guys out. Till next time, guys, this is the Pest and Lawn Ninja. I'm slaying lawns.